I can't help it that I look good, smell good, can dance all night long. You've been talking to the apes and the giraffes and chimpanzees again, haven't you? Yes, I'm excited!
Oh, is that me?
That's you.
All right. Hey, that is me. Look at that. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Fast Freddie Rocks Youngstown. And, of course, as always, we're coming to you live and direct from the state-of-the-art Youngstown studios in beautiful downtown Youngstown, Ohio. Man, I don't know what happened with this weather. Like earlier this afternoon, I thought, man, we have some blue skies. We have some sunshine. It looks pretty good. And then next thing you know, man, it's almost like a blizzard out there. Tomorrow's opening day for the Guardians, the home opener, and it's going to be 34 degrees. This might be the coldest home opener on record. And that bums me out, man. I think opening day is always so much fun, but around here, we never really have any nice weather. I don't think they should play baseball in Cleveland or Pittsburgh until like May. I think they should play in dome stadiums. They should play out down south. They should play out west, anywhere but here.
Spring training, they're in the sun and the warm weather,
Yeah.
and then opening day, boom, blizzard.
You know, and a lot of those guys aren't used to the cold weather. They're from the Dominican and places like that. Boy, and you put them out here, you might as well put them on the North Pole. But yeah, I always love opening day. I think it's a lot of fun. But when the weather's like this, it's really not that fun.
No.
You know, you want to be able to not have to be all bundled up and sitting there shivering like you're going to a Browns game, you know?
Yep.
So that's my plan is any teams that play in the North, we either play down south as much as you can. You might not be able to schedule it all, but you would think Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Chicago, we would all be playing in dome stadiums or down south. If you could make that work, that would be the way to go. All right, let me get this hooked up here. All right, so today we got a few things going on. We're going to continue from last week. We're going to continue from last week, and we're going to pick up with National Record Store Day, which is coming up this weekend. It's a big celebration of the vinyl record and something I believe is definitely worth celebrating. And we're going to be talking with our buddy Jeff Burke. And we're also going to be talking with Demas Papademas, a great musician, and he's going to be playing this Saturday over at the Record Connection in Niles. And I know Jeff's got a big shindig coming up, so we're going to talk all about that. So let's see. Mary is checking in from Florida, just to rub it in. It could not be any worse here, Mary. It all of a sudden, it just went right back to winter. I thought we had it going on here. I thought everything was cool, and now, bam, we're right back to winter. I was down in Florida for a couple of days. It was really nice. It was really nice. So anyways, Record Store Day coming up. And I just want to talk a little bit about my vinyl records. I remember one of the very first albums that I bought was Creedence Clearwater Revival, Cosmos Factory, with my own money. That's one that I remember. That might have been the very first when I made the transition from 45s into albums. And I still remember one of the very first 45s I bought was the Royal Guardsman and Snoopy and the Red Baron. And I bought that. That was one of the first ones. And from there on it went. And I hadn't stopped buying vinyl, until CDs come out. Then I switched over. That was a lot easier for me for playing my gigs, when I'm out DJing. The CD was all of a sudden like the greatest thing that ever happened, because back in the day when we would DJ, Grandpa, back in the day, but back in the day when we would DJ, we would come into these places and we would have like 10, 12 milk crates full of record albums, and you would have to load all that stuff in, and you were playing with turntables, so you had record players set up on the thing, and then people started dancing. You had to worry about the record skipping and that kind of thing, and it was crazy. We'd have like 2 tables set up just to have all these records there, And I could remember times, you're leaving the bar at 2:30 in the morning, and it's a blizzard outside, and you're loading all this crap. And we're not even talking about your amps, your speakers, and everything else that goes along with it, your tables, all this other stuff. I mean, just the records alone. And I can remember on more than one occasion, we had, snow, and I'm dragging his dolly out, and then the next thing you know, the dolly tips over, and there goes like 5 cases of albums in the snow. And you're like, oh man. Another time I was pulling out of a place, and I was coming down South Avenue, and I forgot to shut the tailgate of my truck. And I go pulling off down South Avenue, and all the records go flying right out the back. Now, keep in mind, so I've been in the bar all night, and I'm just thinking, I got to get these things all picked up before the cops come by. You know, this isn't good. But that's one thing I really don't really miss about the things are the records. You know, I really don't miss that, and on air too. You know, I mean, I'm probably like one of the few last of the DJs that actually played records on the air. And that used to be a thing in itself, because you used to have to queue up every single record that you were going to play. And then you would have to start it and talk. And there was a lot more involved than there is now, you know, with the computerized MP3s and things like that. In a lot of ways, it's a lot easier though. But man, back in the day, you know, you had to make sure that the records were queued up properly, that they would start properly. And then you'd have to put them back in their cases, in their sleeve, and put it back where it belongs. And, you know, it used to be a whole lot of stuff going on there at a radio station in an hour, because you had to be completely focused, because you're waiting for that song to end. You're waiting for one song to end, and you'd have like 2 or 4 turntables. So you'd have like all these records ready to go. And then you're thinking, okay, I got to hit this button. I got to hit that button. I got to make sure I talk, and I got to only talk until the vocals start on the song and things like that. And it was, 4 hours of concentration. You really had to concentrate over the period of 4 hours. So anyways,
I'm going to make some noise here. I think I got the phones going.
Oh, okay. I think Joe might have the phones going here. Okay. I hope so. Yeah, we're having a little bit of a technical
difficulty. Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and call screener line. Please enter your show or meeting number.
Uh-oh. See, you get to see behind the scenes here. You know, this is behind
Enter
the
your
scenes.
6-digit PIN number.
But anyways, so that used to be the thing with records, you know, with the...
Welcome.
I like the...
You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
You're playing, or if you're on the radio and you have these things, you don't have to queue up and carry things around if you were a bar DJ or anything like that. But...
we're good.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me shoot Jeff here a quick message. Yeah, you know, you guys talk among yourself.
We'll be over here.
Yeah. We're just taking care of things that
Arliss, welcome. Mary, you've been greeted, but let me greet you again.
Yeah. Mary's down in Florida though. 80 degrees, sunshine. I can't believe this weather we've been having. We had that one little peak of sunshine, and we had a couple of days in there where everybody was all excited. A few people got their motorcycles out for like an hour or two, and then all of a sudden, man, it just stopped.
Yep.
Last year, remember last year we had some of those 70-degree days in February. We had some 70-degree days in February, and then a couple of other warm days, and then it rained all the way till June. Because even last year when we did bike night at Yankee Lake, it rained almost every single Wednesday last year. We got pounded with rain on Wednesday nights, and that's why I'm a little worried. You know,
not yet. Get the bike out. Still too early.
Well, I've already had it out for a little bit.
Did you see the flooding down in Columbus, by the way, along the Ohio River?
No.
Oh yeah, they're getting hammered down there with the rising. It's a crest. I think it crested today, so they're going to be dealing with flooding.
Man, that's you know. I just hope we don't have it. It seems like our climate has changed, and now we have this like rainy season. You know. So, anyways. What else has been going on, man? We're going to be talking Record Store Day coming up here in a little bit. We got any alcohol? We got some beer?
I got a little bourbon.
Okay, no beer. Today's National Beer Day.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, I'll drink both, but
okay.
I mean,
you want Penguin City?
Penguin City sounds good. Why not? Penguin City sounds good. Yeah, Arla says this is definitely bourbon drinking weather. I don't know how we went to that. I don't know, I don't know. Anyways, listen, if you get a chance, my buddy Arliss Walker, who's checking in, he's in the band The Southern Outlaws, and they're having the next Music Star competition. So if you go to Arliss's Facebook page, you can vote for the Southern Rock All-Stars. So be sure to check out Arliss Walker, ARLISWALKER.
Penguin City's gone, but we have one Christmas ale left.
Oh, you know what? That's a treat.
There you go.
That is a treat. I will have a Christmas ale. Although this isn't Great Lakes Christmas ale. It's something a little different. This is Breckenridge Brewery Fine Colorado Ales. So
you will be the official taste tester.
Okay. All right. Well, let's not wait too long. I mean, well, you know what? It's snowing outside, so we might as well have a Christmas ale. It only seems to work out right. So cheers, and let's give this a taste here. Christmas ale in honor of the blizzard of April. But we've had blizzards on April Fool's Day and stuff before. I know we've had several opening days that were postponed because of snow. So it's not out of the questions.
It's Ohio.
Hey, Brady is checking in. Hi, Brady. How are you? Cheers. I got to get Brady on. Brady is the rock chick, man. She's a real rock star. And I mean, if there's a rock chick out there, it's her. And, she used to work at National Record Mart and Oasis and Farmore. And
I remember those names.
She's all about music.
Are there any like mall record stores anymore?
I don't think so. Yeah. So,
because that was the place to hit when you were at the mall.
Oh, right. That was one of the only reasons to go to the mall, really. Well, meet girls and go to the game room. Right? I mean, there was other things to do there as well. But yeah. So yeah, we're definitely gonna get Brady on here, though. She could tell us all about her days at National Record Mart and all the fun stuff that she had. Although I'll tell you, the one thing that I remember most is we were going to see REM, and you're not going to believe this. It was one of these rare occasions, something that very rarely happens with me. Okay.
All right.
Very rare occasion. And I was late for us to go to the show.
Really?
Yeah.
You being late?
I was late.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? It doesn't really happen that often. And that's why, it was such a crazy thing that I was late, and we were supposed to meet REM, and we didn't get a chance because I blew it. And Brady, I think, is still pissed at me about that.
Sullied your reputation.
Yeah. That one time in my whole life that I'm late, and then all of a sudden, that's what happens.
Then you're known for it.
Yeah, Brady says she's shy. She ain't shy. Hey, Barb is checking in. Hi, Barb. Happy birthday. This beer is for you for your birthday. If you were here, I'd buy you one. Boy, is that good.
Is it?
Very good.
Marks?
Yeah. So let's see. Favorite beers. That's a good one. My favorite beer is cold and free. Just like this. You know what? Whatever you would have pulled out of that refrigerator, I'd have been like, yeah, let's go. It's National Beer
Milwaukee's
Day.
Best. If I'd have pulled out of Milwaukee's Best, would you have drank?
I would drink it. Yeah. You know what? I'm not that big of a beer snob.
No?
I'm really not.
Are there any beers that are just no way?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to maybe drink a Milwaukee's Best or, Keystone Light or something like that, Milwaukee Best Ice and some of those. But I mean, if somebody handed me one, I wouldn't
choose it. It wouldn't be what you would buy.
I mean, I'm just not a snob like that, and I don't really have a lot of beer at my house, because I only drink at work. That's my thing. I only drink at work. I don't sit
Kids. Do not follow this advice. He is a terrible role model.
I do not. I don't really drink that much at home, but I do drink at work whenever I can. So, that's how it is. Let's see. Arla says he's got to get me some American Badass whiskey from their sponsor. Okay, that sounds good.
Oh, we'll sample it.
Yeah, give me a shot of Badass.
Yeah,
man, all the Badass are drinking Badass whiskey.
They got to have Bourbon Day, right?
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
It up.
Yeah, they got to have National Bourbon Day. But I remember all the different beers that they used to have back in the day too. Like my dad used to drink Black Label. That was his number one beer. National Bourbon Day is June 14th. We're going to have to keep that in mind. Well, this one says June 7th. That one says
Let's
June
do
14th.
both. We'll also celebrate it back to back.
Okay, yeah. All right. So it looks like this year it's going to be on the 14th. June 14th, Bourbon Day, a day to celebrate bourbon whiskey. How to celebrate? To acknowledge the rich history, craftsmanship, and enduring popularity of bourbon. Okay. September is also National Bourbon Heritage Month. How to celebrate? You can enjoy bourbon neat, on the rocks, or in a cocktail.
All right.
I think I go with the neat. I don't like to mess with it.
No.
I just like it as is.
Cheers.
Yeah. Hey, you could offer me one here at some point.
Beer and whiskey together. Does that even go? Are they even friends?
Beer and whiskey friends. These are best buddies. These are bosom buddies right here. I didn't know that bourbon whiskey is the official American spirit, declared by President Lyndon B. Johnson back in 1964. LBJ. Bourbon must be made in the United States from a mash bill of at least 51% corn and aged in a new charred oak barrels. So there's some stuff to bourbon. We got it. You know what? We'll get Dr. Sue on for Bourbon Day. Yeah. Didn't you guys do that bourbon thing?
We were going. We canceled it and pushed it to September.
Oh, okay. I knew you were going to do it. Yeah, I was like, hey, you guys. I didn't get the call, man. So I was like, I didn't know if I was ass out or what. But yeah, National Beer Day. I think beer should be more than one day. I think beer should be for like a week, maybe. And why do they have a National Beer Day on a Monday? You would want that on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Really
National Beer Weekend, at least. I would go a week, and maybe in the summertime. But you know what?
All big 3-month stretch was National Beer Quarter.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I would say. Just do it for the whole summer. Hey, did you see that there's a company in England that is marketing a chill can?
I saw that.
And I don't know if it's a fake, but they say that they're in with like Coke and Red Bull and some big sponsors. Now, see, that's what I said about our chill can factory. Supposedly these guys had this idea that you're not going to need a cooler and this can is going to keep beer cold and whatever. And we invested all this money and it turned out to be a ripoff. Surprise, surprise. And my whole thing was right from the beginning, if you had some kind of patent like that or that invention, you would immediately go to Anheuser-Busch. You would immediately go to Coca-Cola. You would go to those big guys and say, here it is.
License the crap.
And just have them take care of it. And you just sit back and say, all right, I'm set for life. My kids are set for life.
You don't want to manufacture it yourself.
No. But then I saw the way that this can worked in England, and I don't think it's all that cool. I mean, it has like a thing on the bottom of it. And you push the button, and it still takes like 10 minutes to chill the beer.
Really? 10 minutes?
Yeah. There we go. First self-chilling beer cans go on sale in UK. The can contains what is that?
A desiccant.
A desiccant that, when activated, draws heat from the beverage through the evaporator into the insulated heat sink container, lowering the temperature quickly. I think the way it looked and everything, to me, it looked like it was a pain in the ass, honestly. I don't think that's going to be a big thing. There's the first journalist that tried it. The self-chilling can, I don't know. I think you can work on this all you want. But see, look how big that can is. And then you got that thing on the bottom. So how expensive is that going to be, too?
I know, really.
Aren't you better off just buying a cooler or
a little insert? Like they get the little chilling insert you put your can in.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on the idea, but at least these people actually have one that you can see, I just wonder why everybody in Youngstown, when they were giving out all that money and stuff, did anybody say, "Hey, could we see one?" Let's see what this looks like. But I don't know. The cool can is the cool can is I don't know. So that is National Beer Day. But back in the day, yeah, my dad used to drink Black Label, and then they had all those other things out there, Blatz and Kohlers and Duke and POC. They used to call that piss over Cleveland. But it's kind of crazy. And in Youngstown, they had Renner's Brewery. Actually, these guys were like ahead of their time. All these towns had their own little beers. And yeah, Dave, there we go. My buddy Dave's on the POC bandwagon. But I guess it's kind of like the craft beers of today. They had these little places that made these beers for their town and their region, and that was it. And people drank them. Duke and Stroh's. A lot of people used to drink Stroh's. Somebody said our video.
I fixed it.
Oh, okay. We fixed it. All right. Sounds good, Dennis. All right. So anyways, okay. Yeah. Dave's dad drank POC. That would have been a good question for today. What beer did your dad drink back in the day? I know my dad used to drink Black Label and Blatz. Those were the two main ones. So, yeah, we're waiting to hear from Jeff Burke from the Record Connection. So, hopefully Jeff will be in touch here in a little bit. And hopefully Demas Papademas is going to be calling. One of my favorites, man. I mean, you got to look him up. It's hard to spell his name, but if you can spell his name, you got to look him up. He's going to be playing over at the Record Connection on Saturday. And I know he's a big Bob Dylan fan too. He does like a big Bob Dylan tribute on Bob's birthday over at the West Side Bowl. So hopefully Demas will give us a call and we'll be able to chat with him for a while too about just his musical career and, some of the influences on him. We'll talk a little bit about Bob Dylan, who will be coming to Youngstown here pretty soon. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, Fort Pitt. That's another one. Steve's on there with the Fort Pitt. Remember people you said, that's it, Fort Pitt.
Was there a beer called like Schlitz or something?
Yeah, Schlitz. Yeah. And that's what it's the name, and that's what it made you do. It gave you them.
Gave me the Schlitz.
Yeah, Schlitz and Schmitz. Then there was a Schmitz too. There was Schlitz and Schmitz and Stroh's. And Rolling Rock, when it was really Rolling Rock, when it was really brewed in Latrobe, and that was another one that got just bought up by one of the big companies now. But yeah, back in the day, man, when Rolling Rock was brewed in Latrobe and the green bottle and the whole 9 yards, that was a big one. Yeah, Genesee, there's another one. Yeah, Dave, you know it. Genesee, Jenny Light, Jenny Cream Ale. Jenny Cream Ale, for some reason, that used to be the one that, underage drinking was big with Jenny Cream Ale. Why?
It was cheap, right?
I don't know, but, Jenny Cream Ale, I can remember drinking that. A lot of people still drink that, Genesee. Now that's another regional brewery that's still going. I guess around Buffalo and stuff, they're still very popular. Kind of like the Iron City of Buffalo, and that's another one. People still like Iron City. If I end up in Pittsburgh, if I end up at a Penguins game or a Pirates game or something, I'll drink an icy light or just a regular iron just to be, just to be in with it,
What was the beer that used to have the can that was shaped a little bit like a barrel?
Oh, Mickey's Malt Liquor. Mickey's Malt Liquor. They look like little hand grenades. That was another favorite of underage drinkers. Why? I haven't a clue. Probably because it was fun driving around town and throwing those bottles out the window like hand grenades. I think that's why that was so much fun. Everybody's like, oh yeah, Mickey's Malt Liquor. Oh, those, the wide mouth cans. And then also at that time, you had Little Kings too, out of Cincinnati. That was another one that people used to drink Little Kings a lot. That was another one to me. It just seems like maybe because we drank so much of them back in the day, maybe if you had one today, it would be like, oh, okay, a Little Kings. I'll try that. Or Jenny Cream Ale. Maybe I'll give that a try,
I bet you have more discriminating tastes at this point if you pulled one of those out. I bet you would not reminisce.
Or
in a bad way.
I don't know.
It sounds like a challenge. It sounds like I'm going to go buy the cheap beer, bring it in here, let you sample it, and give us your opinion.
Oh, another one too that they sell at the Royal Oak, Schaefer's. That was another one that was out there. Schaefer's, Olympia. Now, Olympia, that used to be back in the day. Olympia and Coors, you couldn't get them this side of the Mississippi. Well, that's the whole thing. That was the whole premise of Smokey and the Bandit. They were smuggling in the Coors from Colorado, and they had that whole 18-wheeler full of that Colorado Kool-Aid, like they used to call it. And that used to be a big thing, man. You would be sitting there going, "Oh man, we got some Coors. Get out, man. I'm brewed." No, really, Man,
what was that Pennsylvania beer that wasn't sold in Ohio for the longest time? I used to go there to pick up cases of it and bring it back here. What the heck was that called?
Yingling.
Yes,
yeah. I'll tell you what,
favorite.
Yingling has really come on strong in the last few years. But a lot of people like Yingling. I think it's the oldest brewery in America, and people like it because it's locally owned, regionally owned, and people like that. I like the Black and Tan. The Yingling Black and Tan is my favorite.
So good.
For just being a, I don't know what you want to call it, a regular everyday beer made and selling in the grocery store. Nothing fancy. The Black and Tan, that's my favorite Yingling. I went to the Yingling brewery down in Tampa. I don't know if it's still open or not down there, but it was something else before it was Yingling down there. And I met the brewmeister, and had a couple of Black and Tans on the house. It was pretty cool. But let's see what else. Schaefer's, Olympia. Yeah, that was the big thing though with Coors and Olympia, man. Boy, if you got them around here, boy, that was really something. Now you got Coors every day, and it's like, and most of those are all made by the same, either Anheuser-Busch or Miller, I guess. And so, they got 15 brands. Probably just all comes out of the same spout, different bottle they run through.
Yep.
Oh, Stroh's, that used to be a big one down at Visha's on the south side. All them guys used to drink Stroh's, Black Label, Rolling Rock.
So when you're down in sunny weather down in Florida, do you do like a Corona?
I'll do a Corona. I'll do a Modelo. Negra Modelo. That's my favorite. Negra Modelo. That's another one. Dark beer, but it doesn't have that, I don't know. And not that, I like these stouts and stuff though. Whenever I go to Penguin City or Biker Brew House or whatever, I always get a stout, something like the Guinness, if it's heavy. Chocolate, coffee, whatever, and usually when I go to those places, I look at some of those things and I go, okay, that one's 12% alcohol in a beer. Okay.
It's a meal.
And then they give you one of them little brandy glasses and you're sitting there going, woo, and you drink a couple of those and you're like, wow, I got a pretty good buzz on from that. So that's one of the things that that I do like. Let's see here. Dave mentioned our buddy Sapdog likes Ball Bearing from Biker Brew House. I'll tell you what, we sell that at the Lube too. That is some good beer. I mean, because some people, they just have this aversion to craft beers. You mentioned IPA, craft beer, locally brewed. They get a little funny, Oh, give me my Miller Lite. But I'll tell you what, if you try the Ball Bearing from Biker Brew House, that's a very good beer. I mean, it tastes like anything else that's out there, maybe even a little better. But I would always drink, Thursday nights at the Lube, would have a special on Ball Bearing from Biker Brew House. That's good. If you see that around somewhere, try it. And I'll tell you what, I think you'll, if you're the Coors Light, the regular kind of beers that go out there, you'll like that. I think you might even like it a little more. Hams, that was another one. Every time I see Hams, I think of one time, me and Chrissy Patrick, when we were on the radio, we went to the beer place to learn how to make beer. And that's what our beer tasted like, ham. It just tasted like ham. I don't know what we put in there or whatever, but But some of these guys, I don't know if people are still as big as they are into that, like making their own beer.
So if someone in public, like either a neighbor or a friend says, hey, taste this, I brewed this in my basement.
Yeah.
Are you spit it out when they're not looking, or is it usually good enough to stomach?
You know what? I don't really know too many people that have that much time to dick around like that. But if I did, I would be polite about it, unless it really sucked. It all depends on how good of a friend they were, you know. I mean, you know, but I mean, if it was just somebody, oh, hey, try this, man.
I brewed this myself.
Yeah. Oh man, it's great. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I put bacon and cherries in it.
Hey, just like ours, man. Some cloves. You put cloves in there too. And brown sugar. I put brown sugar and a ham and some cloves. Oh yeah, that's so great. Good. That's how I like it. Yeah,
it's like dessert.
Yeah, it's like I'm drinking a ham. I'm drinking a slice of ham. That's what I like. Put a little honey in there too. I think it's missing a little honey. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really big on telling people like, oh, your stuff sucks or whatever. You know.
Well, when you do home stuff, it's either usually really good or like skunk bad, like terrible bad.
Yeah.
And there's no in between on it.
Yeah. I don't know. But it's like wine too. It's like wine. I remember my one buddy's dad was from the old country.
Oh, yeah.
And he made some of the worst Dago Red that you ever drank in your life. And I don't know if he was giving it to us to like bust our balls or if he really thought it was good. But this was the stuff like you would, dump in the plant and stuff when nobody was looking.
Straight vinegar.
You know? Oh, it was terrible. And he was all happy. Hey, you drink. Oh. I think he's trying to teach us a lesson not to drink.
They were so proud of it. They really were. Everybody knew that friend too.
And he'd bring out that big gallon bottle, like was that Campo Basso or whatever.
This batch is ready.
Like, no, please. Please be ready when we pull up and beep the horn so you can come out and leave. We do not want to come in here. And you didn't want to insult the guy and turn it down, you know. No. Hey, you drink. You ain't looking. Let's dump this one out, you know. But or you just had to suck it down and he would do that. But it was crazy. So I got to send Jeff a message here. Call in. There we go. Oh man, you're on a roll here.
I had very little in my first.
I'm sitting here talking, and I still got Christmas ale left. I haven't touched my bourbon. You haven't even touched your bourbon yet, young man.
Shame.
No bourbon until you finish your beer. There are thirsty kids out there that would just love to have a Christmas ale right now. And you're going to let it get warm. No bourbon until you finish your beer. I got a
chill can in the back. I keep that thing cold.
Just when you want to hit it. Oh, man. But when you think about it, in these troubled times and in this world, this crazy world, beer is the one thing I think we could all agree on. Beer is one thing we have in common. Everybody, for the most part, likes a beer.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find somebody that doesn't like beer. Although lately, I've been leaning towards the hard stuff. Maybe it's because I'm getting older.
It's better for you.
And maybe it's
healthier.
It is? Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, if you say so. You're a scientist. You know all this stuff.
It's almost medicine, like this close to medicine.
Well, see, that's what I grew up thinking, that beer was medicine or alcohol was medicine.
For sure.
My great-grandfather, he was old steel worker from the old country, from Serbia. And he drank Seagram 7 or it was mainly Seagram 7. And I some of my earliest memories was him, he had a little bed down in the basement And he always had that bottle of Seagram's. And he goes, Freddie, medicine, Freddie, medicine. You know, I grew up thinking that, you know,
it almost is.
Seagram 7 is
so what do you think? What do you think the threshold is? The number of drinks per week that is healthy and safe versus, give me a number of what you think.
I'm not in that, but I would say it's probably 3 or 4
per week.
Per week is probably one a day is somewhere in there.
It is 12 drinks per week.
12 drinks.
12 drinks.
Okay, so 2 a day. 2 a day.
Mm-hmm.
Not
take one day off. You know, let the liver come
so
back
then
to
you
life.
go. Then you have 4 of that in one day.
That's
so,
right.
or, you know, have 6 and 6 if you stretch it out.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that sounds about right.
And
too.
Do not take health advice from us, by the way. That is one thing you do not want to do.
So this is it then. Did I have anything yesterday? No, you know what I had yesterday? I don't think I had a beer. I was drinking Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee and Rumchetta coconut rum.
Not bad.
You know, see that's one of those things that you're not really. I mean, sometimes you got to admit, sometimes drinking is like a chore, you know? And I think maybe that's why I've moved over to whiskey a little more the older I get, because sometimes, you know, choking down 6 beers and you get bloated and everything, you know. It's like
when you can do one little shot, sip on
thing, you know, sip on a little bit and then you get buzzed.
Although, like the effort that you put into that coffee drink that you mixed up for us that one time, I still remember that as being one of the best mixed drinks I've ever had.
Yeah, that was. I don't even know if they make that anymore. They had Pabst Blue Ribbon coffee beer, coffee flavored Pabst Blue Ribbon, and then what was it? A shot of Bailey's, or was it Jaeger, or was it the coffee Jaeger? I think it was the coffee Jaeger,
the best drink,
and then it was I think it was a shot of Bailey's on top of that, and that coffee Jaeger, I haven't seen that around lately. That was really good.
Well, the next time it's available, we'll do another mixology.
Yeah, that was really good. That was my own special drink there, and you know that's why. Okay, Dave wants to go to Gatlinburg and get some moonshine. There's a place over in Valant that sells like moonshine. The guy makes a moonshine. I think it's called Derailed Distillery. And the regular moonshine that they had tasted, you know, pretty real, you know, and they have all different flavors, you know, from cherry and berry. And, you know, I think they had like 100 different flavors of moonshine, but it seemed like, you know, from buying it at a like kind of a store instead of some guy, you know, like popcorn. Did you ever see popcorn? You know who popcorn is? Look up popcorn. Popcorn's like popcorn is like the king of moonshiners. He was on one of those shows, and he is just
there he is.
Yeah, there's popcorn. You know, he looks like an old mountain man. Yeah, Marvin Popcorn Sutton. And these guys were like the real moonshiners, and
real deal.
They are from North Carolina, and I think they had a TV show there for a while. You know, they're bootleggers. But yeah, why would you want to get like Jack Daniels, you know, limestone, you know, fine barrel and limestone water and charcoal filtered and stuff when you could get somebody like popcorn running it through a copper hose and some PCV pipe with some spring water out of some
deep in the forest.
Yeah, I mean that's where the real stuff comes from, man. That's what you want. None of this fancy schmancy store bought.
You have a call, by the way.
Oh, let's grab the call then. All right, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. All right, man.
Yes. Hey, Fred. How you doing?
I am doing great. Ladies and gentlemen, with us on the phone right now is my friend Jeff Burke from the Record Connection in the Pine Tree Plaza in Niles. And Jeff, I know you're getting pumped up for Record Store Day. You know, I know every year it seems like you just continue to outdo yourself. What do you got going on here for Record Store Day coming up on Saturday?
Well, we've got, just like we always do, Fred, it's a big celebration for the Record Connection and all the vinyl lovers in this area. We feel like we have to do it. You know, the people just expect it. So We start the day out, 9 o'clock, coffee and donuts on us. 10 o'clock, the doors swing open. We have musical guests every year. This year we have back Record Store Day's favorite son, Demos Papademos, and his band leading things off. Demos has played here probably more than any other local artist since Record Store Day started anyway.
Right.
All the way back to the first time we had entertainment, that was our guy. He came in a little hungover and a little late that day, did a one-man show, but he was
that's one thing I can't even wrap my brain around. Showing up a little hungover and late. I that's a foreign concept to me. That's something I can't even relate to. That's like something from outer space.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He had gone to see Bob Dylan the night before, so we gave him a little bit of a pass, Fred.
Yeah, I know Demos is a big Bob Dylan fan. As a matter of fact, me and Cornell went to a Bob Dylan show in Akron with his mom one time. She's a nice person, too. And boy, we had a blast. And then, of course, Demos got that Bob Dylan tribute coming up on his birthday right around the end of May over at West Side Bowl. So that's always cool. Now, how long have you been in business now in the record business? Because I know if I remember correctly, you were going to start out, your dad wanted you to like open an ice cream shop or something. Isn't that right?
Yeah, you're right. That was about 1980. I actually took the store over in October of 1980. But yeah, Dad wanted me to do an ice cream thing, which I'd be a big fat ice cream baron probably by now because I like ice cream too much. So I'm glad I didn't go that route. But yeah, he wanted me to do ice cream, but I think he really knew, though, my passion was records. I bought records like crazy when I was a kid. I worked at Republic Steel, and we got paid every 2 weeks, and I'd come home with a boatload of records under my arm, and he'd always say, "What do you need all those records for?" And I'd tell him, "Pop, I don't need them. I just want them."
Right.
I think he kind of understood. So, yeah, we're almost at the 45-year mark. So
45 years, get out of here. How could that be? Where did that time go? Man.
Yeah, tell me about it.
45 years with the
color hair.
Whew, unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is crazy. That is really crazy, man. So what are some of the biggest changes that you have seen over the years in the record business?
Well, one obvious, we're back to records again. I've been through 8-tracks, been through cassettes, been through the mini disc, CDs, the LPs, of course. And here we go, full circle again with the LPs. And now there's statistics that say the CD's on the upswing again. People are starting to, I think because records have gotten a little bit high priced.
Yes.
People still want physical products, so they're drifting back to the CD now. So, and all this streaming, and I mean, we've weathered the storm even when there was free music with Napster and what was that other thing called, Kazaa or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, when they were stealing the music, we were able to weather that storm as well. So I don't know. It's one of those things that just keeps chugging along. You find a way. You think outside the box. Rediscover yourself. Try this, try that, and we've done some really cool things here over the years that brought a lot of attention. One of them is Record Store Day, obviously, but we've had these special sales. We used to have a big 2 for Tuesdays sale. I think Fred probably ran commercials for us a billion times. On that, record and we recreated it with the CD once it came out. So I'm going to do another version of it.
Oh, that'd be cool. That would be cool. As a matter of fact, me and Brady were just talking online the other day. It was the anniversary of the release of Bruce Springsteen, Lucky Town, and Human Touch. And remember when we used to do like a midnight sale? And people would come out and people would line up and we would have so much fun. And we would go to places like Oasis and here and there. And people would line up and would do the midnight sale. And
we kicked all their asses, though. You know what? Those midnight sales, Fred.
Yep.
And you were here for a lot of them.
Yes.
We kicked all the chain stores. I can remember when Pearl Jam Vitology came out. We got a call from Sony Music the next day congratulating us for kicking all the chains, Oasis, Camelot, whatever was around back then.
Right.
They got the numbers from our distributor out of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was called Galaxy Music. And the area guy called and, he said, I got to take my hat off to you. Word is you guys killed it last night and whipped the chains' asses. So,
oh, yeah. Those were so
always
fun
like
times.
that. Yeah.
Now, when you look at records and the way things have evolved, are you, for the longest time, it seemed like used records, people are looking for used vinyl. Has it switched a little bit lately towards newer vinyl now? Are people out looking to buy new vinyl, or is the used market still good, or how's that working?
Well, I had a conversation with a guy that owns a small store. And, he says, I'm not doing anything with new records. So if I'm remembering correctly, I just read this RIAA report. And new record sales did decline a little bit in 24. However, the dollar margin went way up. So I think physical product, probably CD and new records, because they're not accounting for used records,
right,
was like 1.7 billion. So I'm trying to tell this guy, listen, you could be getting a piece of that 1.7 billion. You have to sell new records.
Right. Absolutely.
The only way you're going to make it.
Absolutely.
And I watch the ratios. We have our pre-owned stuff is more quality than quantity. People say, you have a lot more new records here. I said, yeah, there's a reason for that. And I tell them we go through a lot of nice pre-owned records because they're in great condition.
Right.
People don't hardly check our records anymore. They just come to the counter and buy them. And
hey, you know what? That's one thing too that we should talk about. If you are somebody that is trying to sell some records, they have to be in awesome condition, right? I mean, I remember I come up and I had like 5 crates of like my albums that I had DJ'd with for like 20 years.
Oh yeah, you were playing out on those records.
I think you very kindly invited me. You were kind enough to say, hey, you can throw them in my dumpster out back if you don't feel like taking them back with you. I think that might have been the exact quote. Hey, you got a dumpster out back for now, So do you still get that where somebody comes in and they got these records that are covered with mildew and the covers are ripped off and the records are scratched to shit, and they think, hey, this is Def Leppard, man. This is my dad's Def Leppard. Hysteria.
There was a gentleman here today that brought a stack of records. I saw him go to the back of his vehicle. He had a GMC SUV, and he's fussing around it. And I knew he was going to bring a stack of records in, and I could see as he came towards the door, they were all waterlogged. And as soon as the door opened, I could smell the mildew. And I'm like, dude, you got to take those back out. And on top of it, the record was a dead stink bug. And I said, this is why you can't bring this stuff in here.
Right.
Look, there's a bug here.
Right.
There's mildew all over these records. I said, they smell. But I got this Hendrix album. I don't even mess with it.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one that did that. I feel like...
Fred, I could fill semi trucks with bad records. Yeah, I wish there was a market for scrap vinyl. And sometimes
like tires,
I wouldn't even
tires. We got to figure a way to
go into scrap.
Now, where do they make records at still? Is there a lot of places that press records or anything? I was talking to my buddy Jeff Buzzard, and he was wondering about that. Where do they press records at these days?
Well, records are pressed all over the world now. Czechoslovakia is the biggest manufacturer of record albums.
Wow.
We have a few plants in America. Jack White has one up in Detroit.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then there's,
of course, URP. The old URP is, I think they expanded, actually. There's one in California, and then there's smaller ones. There's one up in Cleveland that does a lot of pressing for the local artists. The Vindies have used this place, Got a Groove. One of the guys there, I think he might be a partner, actually. He used to be a salesman at a one-stop in Columbus that we used to buy from. And then you have Germany, Japan, the UK, Canada. There's supposed to be 174 plants around the world right now.
That's actually more than I thought. That's pretty many.
Yeah, it's a lot more. There's been a lot of expansion, and they're supposed to have a capacity of over 300 million albums a year.
Wow.
So why can't we get records? Something's not right.
Yeah.
You know, and high prices, you know, something's not right. You know, so I don't really know what's going on. I have an idea, but you know, with that kind of capacity, they could start banging records out again at reasonable prices.
Yeah, you would think. You would think. So, what are some of the special things you got going for Record Store Day? And you know, let's talk a little bit about that as to how the things that the special things that they release on Record Store Day has grown over the years.
Yeah, this year actually, Fred, the titles that they're offering are a little bit light for the spring event. So there was like 335. Normally there's 450 roughly.
Wow.
So we're down about 100 titles this year.
Oh, okay.
And the other problem is going to be the quantity that they've pressed. And they've held true to the numbers here recently only because I think they got caught overproducing.
Okay.
So there for a while they were numbering everything.
Yeah.
So duplicate numbers were showing up in other countries. So, you know, I've been told even by a sales manager, I said, you know, how could all these things be floating around 2 years later? You know, these titles that there was only 3,000 or 4,000 of.
Yeah.
And he come right out and he said overproduction. And we used to be direct with Sony and Warner Brothers. And I got pretty close to the vice president at Sony because of the Foo Fighters show.
Right.
And he basically told me that they do make extras in case of defects. Well, you don't make that many extras.
Yeah, right.
You know, let's face it. You know, so, you know, it's going to be heavy allocations this year from everything I've heard. You know,
that's cool.
And they
so what are some of the big ones that what are some of the ones that people are really looking for? What are some of the big ones?
I would say all the calls that have come in here are for a lot of these new female artists.
Really?
Gracie Abrams.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. People want that stuff. They want the, what the heck was the big Wicked soundtrack? Yeah. So here's a good example. So they come out with this Wicked soundtrack that has eight extra songs, I believe. They make 2,000 of them. Our supplier got orders for 14,000.
Wow.
So every store is going to get one. Technically, some will get two. I can't imagine any store participating wouldn't order that.
Yeah, wasn't there something out there recorded at the Agora in Cleveland? I forget. Wasn't there a show that was recorded there in Cleveland at the Agora that's being released this year? I don't know.
You know, I don't remember that one.
Okay. I could be wrong.
I know we had a couple years ago that they had UFO at the Tomorrow Club.
Oh, really? Oh man, that would be one. If I would have known that, I would have bought that one.
Oh, I got one.
Oh, UFO at the Tomorrow Club, man. That used to be a big thing with Too Hot to Handle. And I remember when they played there. That was really crazy. Yeah, our buddy Cav is checking in. He's just he's just joining in. So, and Joe is checking in, the guys from the Menacor in Youngstown. And the topic is we're talking about Record Store Day, and we got a big party coming up with my buddy Jeff Burke at the Record Connection in the Pine Tree Plaza in Niles this weekend on Saturday. We got our friend Demas Papademas playing some live music. We got some good food and all kinds of stuff going on. And so what about you personally? Like, you know, you were talking about how you were a big music fan and a big record collector. What were some of the first records that you bought with your own money back in the day? What were some of the very first things that you added to your collection or that got you on the road?
The very first album I ever bought was Got Live If You Want It, Rolling Stones. I was delivering papers and finishing up my route, and I could hear all this great music. Now, back in those days, everybody had console stereos.
Right.
And most newspaper boys would open the storm door and lay the newspaper right in the living room. You know, it was that cool back then. So you'd hear all kind of music. But I'm finishing up my route, and I can hear this great rock music. Now, I don't know anything really about the Stones.
Uh-huh.
I kind of liked the Beatles when I was a kid. I'd ride downtown and buy the 7-inch, 45 RPM records.
Right.
Hustle back home and play the shit out of them,
Mm-hmm.
And so I hear this record, so I knock on the door, and my buddy Sonny Painter is his name, comes to the door, and I said, "What are you listening to?" And he says, "It's the Rolling Stones." He said, "You want to come in and listen to it?" And I said, "No, I want to buy it." So he took the record up, brought it out. He said, "How much will you give me for it?" I said, "How's $3?" I didn't know. I really didn't know what a record cost.
Right.
So I paid him $3 for it, and I still have it.
Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. Now, when you go back to like the 45s too, we were talking a little earlier before you came on. Well, I remember one of the very first 45s I bought for sure was Snoopy and the Red Baron from the Royal Guardsmen. Oh, and that's the one that kind of got me on the track. And then, of course, I remember buying things like Nobody But Me from the Human Beings and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I used to go down to, the YMCA on Saturdays in downtown Youngstown. And in the bottom of Woolworths, they used to have a big 45 bin with, cutouts, overruns back in the day, where they had a little hole drilled in them, where they had all these overruns. And they were selling those things. They would sell them for like $3 for $1. And every Saturday I would go down there, and I just remember buying, Chicago and Bob Dylan, Like a Rolling Stone, and the Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Woman on like London Records and stuff. Every Saturday, that used to be one of my main things. I was probably like about 10, 11. First of all, I would go over to Strauss's. And they had on the mezzanine, they had this like magazine rack, they had like a newsstand there. And even at that age, I would go there. And this is how I ended up getting into the radio business. And it was like nothing really planned, but I've always been a music fan from day one. I always had the biggest record collection, and I would go down there on Saturday, and part of my routine, I'd go to the YMCA, do all my stuff down there. And then I would go over to Strauss's in the mezzanine, and I would read every magazine that they had there. They had Billboard magazine. Back in 1968, 69, I knew every song that was #1 or whatever. I knew everything on the charts. And then they had like Hit Parader and all these other magazines. And back then, that was the only time you got a chance to see what Led Zeppelin looked like or whatever, You'd open up that Hit Parader, and there's Led Zeppelin in concert at Madison Square Garden. And you're sitting there going, "Oh, is this cool?" And then I would go down, and then I would buy my 45s. I can remember buying Santana and all these things. And, and then it just went from there. And then my first album that I bought with my own money was Cosmos Factory from CCR. And then from there, I was just off to the races.
One of my favorites too, growing up.
That was one of my favorites. Let's see here. Brady says Rolling Stones, Love. Cav says Boomtown Rats and Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. Dave, who's an old fart, closer to our age, the Monkees' first album, and he still has it to this day. That's cool.
Oh boy!
And
my grandmother used to bring us the Monkees, any new Monkees album. My grandmother lived in Ashtabula. So she would come to visit for a weekend. Her and my grandfather would come and visit. And when the new Monkees album was coming out, we would be plastered to the front window waiting. He drove a white Buick Roadmaster. We would be waiting for that car to come around the corner, and all you'd see is everybody's hands going up in the air. Yeah!
I used to live for the Monkees, man. I had never missed the Monkees. And you know what's crazy about them is the music was really so good. They had all the top studio guys playing those songs, and you had Carole King and Neil Diamond and Boyce and Hart. You had all these great guys writing them songs, and I'll tell you what, man, you even to this day, you listen to Last Train to Clarksville or I'm a Believer or, Daydream Believer. What a great song. Those songs were just so freaking good,
Yeah. And you know what was really cool? There was so many places to buy records.
Yes.
Any department store.
Yes.
There was these little mom and pop stores, and then there was chain stores. I mean, everywhere you went.
Yeah, I remember, when I mentioned earlier buying The Human Beings, Nobody But Me, I bought that over at a place called, it was either Save More or Bargain Port on Midlothian, right across from Schwabel's. It was both. I can't remember if it was Save More or Bargain Port at the time, but I bought that there. And then, of course, we always used to go to Hills, Hills department store.
Oh, yeah, Hills had a great record department.
Yep. And then you would have the hot WHOT 1330 playlist, and you would look at that, and then, you'd go there.
Yeah, I got one hanging up in here. I have an old one that I had, and I got boxes with stuff in it. And
you know what? I got to get you a couple of old Y103 ones too. I got my hands on a few old Y103 ones just for the fun of it. You got to put those up there. And we were talking about vinyl, and the thing that I think that really made vinyl what it was when you went out to buy a record, you were buying something physical and that you had to take care of, and everything about it was an experience. The pictures, you would take out that inner sleeve and you would read the liner notes and the lyrics, and you'd look at that and go, oh, wow, Bob Seger sings on this, or wow, that guy, or, oh, that's something. And it was more than just like this disposable thing where it's a click on a computer. You had that record, you had to take care of it. That was another thing. You couldn't scratch it.
Oh, yeah.
And, just putting it on the turntable, it was a ritual. You have to put it on the turntable and just gently put that needle on that record. And the whole thing was more than just, okay, I'm going to hit this button, I'm going to click play, and this thing is going to play. There was so much more to it. You would sit there and you would just look at that album cover, or if it was one of those that opened up, and then you would look and read that and look at all the pictures and read the lyrics. So it was, roll your joint on the albums too. Yes, you got that. I'm not going to say who said that, but we know. But music for us was more almost like a religion, and when in the record album was not just something that you took lightly. You had to take care of it. It was something that you would put that on the record player and you would be careful with it. You didn't want to scratch it. And it was more of a, nowadays it's like, okay, you download this and you click it and you like it or whatever. But, before it was like, oh, I got to listen to this whole album, or if, it was like a whole body of work, and these guys had there was some rhyme or some reason with their concepts or what these songs meant and everything. And you would have to listen to the whole thing, and it was, the lyrics, and you're just sitting there, and it was something, and then then when you started getting into some of them crazy things, like the Beatles with the White Album with all the posters. And then all of a sudden, here comes Pink Floyd with Dark Side of the Moon with the stickers and the posters and everything that goes along with it. And Grand Funk Railroad comes out with We're an American Band on gold vinyl with these stickers and these posters in there. And I mean, it was really an experience when you would buy a vinyl album. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to click on, Apple Tunes and, okay, when I hear this, I'll listen to it. I mean, it was an experience, and you were doing more than just wanting to hear a song,
Yeah.
And
we used to have listening parties at our house. I would buy the albums. My brothers were cheap. I went out and worked and made money, and I'd buy the albums, come home and listen. Like I can remember buying the Animals. Learning all those songs. And we'd sit up and smoke my mom's. She used to smoke Pall Mall cigarettes, no filters. So we'd steal the cigarettes and go upstairs and put the albums on and just play them over and over and sing all those songs and dance around. But those are big time memories for me now.
Oh yeah. Like I say, it was more of a tribal thing, and it was more of something that really meant something as opposed to a computer click.
Yeah. And there's nothing there.
And I think, when you look back at it, or, man, you'd buy that album and, you'd look at the cover, and maybe it was one that would open up and there'd be some crazy pictures of like the band in concert or whatever. And then all of a sudden you pull out the sleeve that the record itself was in, and it has some crazy stuff in there too, man.
Yeah. Nothing like it, man.
Some of them guys, with the artists and everything, there was one point where it was almost costing the packaging and the promotion of an album and the artwork and everything was almost costing as much as it was to produce the album,
Yeah, it's crazy. I might lose you, Fred. I just heard my phone beeping for low battery. I might lose you.
Oh, okay. Jeff Blackstone says, isn't vinyl making a comeback? He worked at Plaza Records in the Liberty Plaza back in the early 70s. Yep. So, that was a little bit about the resurgence. Hey, you know what we got to talk about? I mean, we got to talk about some of the huge things that have happened at the Record Connection over the years. And probably one of the best ones, I don't know how we would ever in a million years top this, but you actually had the Foo Fighters play at Record Connection in the Pine Tree Plaza. Tell us a little bit about that great day in Youngstown rock history.
Oh man, that's 10 years ago, Fred.
Unbelievable.
This year, 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years since they were here. Call came out of California after we had a visitor, which I had no idea that this guy was actually a scout for the Foo Fighters management people. And he showed up, ran around the store, took pictures, and he faked me out. He said he was a tourist.
Yeah.
And his favorite thing was running around to independent record stores. And he says, me and my buddies are really into it. So anyway, he came and did his thing, asked if he could take pictures outside. And I said, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. We hit it off famously. Yeah. I mean, it's like we were old friends, cutting up and swearing and stuff, and, just having a good old time. So 2 days later, a call comes in from California. The gentleman introduces himself with initials. Didn't tell me what his name was right away, but he said something to the effect, I'm calling from Hollywood, California. My name's JC. Just curious if you would like to have a band play at your record store day event. I said, well, yeah, I'm interested. We always have bands here. So I said, JC, obviously short for what? He gave me his name. Well, he's the guy that produced Sound City and Sonic Highways.
Unreal.
Yeah, big time guy I'm talking to. So anyway, he said, how's the Foo Fighters? And I said, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? Just tell me, give me the orders, man.
Right.
Well, first of all, are you a guy we can trust? I said, you're talking to Don Corleone.
Right.
And he says, perfect answer. So he said, I'll send you some instructions. We'll get the thing going, and I mean, to this day, it's still hard to believe.
Oh, same with me, man. I'm just so happy that you had me to be a part of that. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Just the way that whole thing went down. To this day, when I tell people, even like, I brag about it. You know what I mean? I'm not a big bragger or whatever, but when I brag about that, man, the Foo Fighters for 150
people. For you to brag about it. The other thing for you to brag about is your interview with Joe Walsh.
Hey, you know what? How cool is that? That's another thing. So after the Foo Fighters leave, and everything was so cool about that day too. Dave rides in on a Harley, and then after that, he went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Remember that? And I think him and Joan Jett played. He was wearing the same clothes that he had on at the Record Connection at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that night. And then the band went down to Dave Grohl Alley. And I don't know how you could top that, between Dave at Dave Grohl Alley and then him doing the record store day at the Pine Tree Plaza at the Record Connection. I don't know how much bigger it gets than that. That made international news. And, to go around and tell people we had 150 people and Dave Grohl did a full Foo Fighters show in this room, and then, getting back to the Joe Walsh thing. So Dave goes back, he talks to Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh is out here, coming back to his roots, doing like Packard Music Hall and stuff like he did. Next thing you know, here's Joe Walsh doing an in-store at the Record Connection. And it was unbelievable. Whoops, you still there? Okay. Well, we lost Jeff, but anyways, it was good talking to you, Jeff. I know your phone was on the blink there, ready to go, but we do want to thank you for taking some time out with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are celebrating the vinyl record we got coming up this Saturday, Record Store Day at the Record Connection in the Pine Tree Plaza in Niles. They start with coffee and donuts early in the day. Come on out and rediscover vinyl. And I know maybe you're not rediscovering vinyl. Maybe you're a collector and you're looking for all these rare things that they're going to have up for sale. And of course, our buddy Demas Papademos is going to be playing there too. So that is definitely going to be a good time. The Record Connection in the Pine Tree Plaza. You know what? Another one we had up there was Ryan Roxy from Ellis Cooper's band. And Ryan has his own band too. And, we had another great autograph signing and stuff like that. So yeah, vinyl records are alive and well, especially if you're, some of us old farts, we have been having that, we've had this reverence or whatever, this love affair with vinyl since day one. So get on out there. Make sure you stop by and see my buddy Jeff here coming up this Saturday at the Record Connection in the Pine Tree Plaza in Niles. Also, if you want to stop out, do the rounds. My buddy Zach at Fat Hippie Records is also having Record Store Day. And then my buddy Sonny from Underdog Records in Hubbard. Sonny is just laid back. He's not a big Record Store Day celebrator, but if you remember Underdog Records from the South Side back in the day, that was the place. So make sure you get on out there and support all our local record stores for National Record Store Day. Where you at, Joe? We got to get Joe back here as we get ready to wrap up the show. But another good time today. Once I start talking about records and, the records how about you? What was the first record you bought? Or are you too young for vinyl? Did vinyl pass you? You're a little too old. Did you start with CDs?
It was Michael Jackson, and that was my first vinyl.
Thriller.
Yep.
Okay, so see, you're a little younger than the Creedence Clearwater Revival and Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon. The day had come out, and The Wall in 1979, and we got to get that and the poster and the crazy shit. So you weren't there when Grand Funk Railroad were an American band on the gold vinyl with the posters and the stickers and all that stuff.
No, I never got to experience that. I think I did Starship. We Built This City. and
I'll tell you what, though, Starship, We Built This City had a pretty cool album cover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a kid with the little thing flying, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll bring it up because that was
okay.
It was like gray.
Oh, there's Popcorn, our moonshine buddy. Yeah, where is that? And then Red Octopus, that was a good one from Starship too. That was Miracles and all that stuff. We built this city. Some people hate that song. Some people think that song is like, they hear that, they're going like, And
I love it.
Joe is listening to us and also Freddie Fender. I met Freddie Fender. Freddie Fender was a pretty cool dude.
Really?
Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. And what was the other one that he had? Vios con Dios. I think he did a version of Vios con Dios. Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. Oh, Before the Last Teardrop Falls, I think he had that. But yeah, I met Freddie Fender back in the day. Me and Freddie Fender used to hang.
There's another call there. You want me to take it?
Yeah, let's take another call. Who's there?
Don't know. All right.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hey, hi. Welcome to the Fast Freddy Show. Who is this?
This is Demos, Papa Demos.
Oh, Demos. Oh, man. Now we're taking the show to the next level. I'm so glad you called in, brother. How you doing, man?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm good. I called in a little bit ago, and it told me to wait.
Oh,
so I listened to you and Jeff talking.
Oh, well, let's jump in here. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is not over yet, okay? Now we're taking the show to the next level.
I mean, I'm heading right into a recording session with Pete Revere.
Okay.
You know.
All right, well, let's just do a little quick thing here. I've been trying to get you on this show, Demos, for I don't know how long. We're going to do one of these days still a full-blown whole 9 yards. You come in the studio and we do it up. But anyways, you're going to be a part of Record Store Day coming up at the Record Connection on Saturday. So tell us a little bit about that.
Jeff Burke, I've been shopping at the Record Connection since I was about 13. So it's been a long time. And I was pretty early on playing at his Record Store Day. I don't know if he talked about it. I'm not sure when he started. I think I may have first played in 2013. But I don't know when somewhere around there is when he started celebrating it. But anyway, I've done many of them. I think I'm the champion of the Record Connection Record Store Day.
That's pretty cool.
But I'm always happy to be there. I'm going to have my band with me. We're playing. I think he has us on first at 10:30.
10:30. Come on, man. I got to get up at 10:30 to come and see you guys.
I know. Well, hey, we got to get up even earlier than that.
Yeah. Hey, for a musician, come on, man. Didn't you tell Jeff? Well, you know what? He did say that you were a little hungover at one Record Store Day and you got there a little late because you were at a Dylan show.
Yeah, that might have been the first one, but
it happens.
That might have been the first one, and I think my thinking at the time was, really, we're gonna have music at like 10 o'clock, really?
Yeah, really. So, Demos, tell us a little bit about yeah, go ahead.
And the event was much smaller when that happened. It was just a few people inside. It wasn't like he had the big stage that he does now and the full sound system.
Right. How this whole thing has gone. So tell us a little bit about your musical background. I know you're a big Bob Dylan fan. What are some of the first vinyl records that you remember buying and that have influenced you?
Well, I was definitely much more of the CD generation. And, I got into vinyl, though, as being, I was a record store kid. I hung out with Jeff over at the Record Connection. I hung out at the CD Warehouse where Chris Leonardi was running it. And I hung out at Borders at the time where John Gatta was running it. So, I would hang out. And anywhere I went with my parents, I would always find the local record store. But no, I got into vinyl at a time when vinyl was not cool. Nobody cared about it. We're talking like early 2000s,
Right.
You were really a record connect. You had to be like really into music, like maybe be a musician. Definitely kind of a hipster thing. You know what I mean? But I remember, my parents had sort of put their vinyl all in the in storage, more or less. And I pulled all that out. I got their record player out that they hadn't touched in years, and my mom had a lot of great stuff. My mom's a big Dylan fan, so she had all these old Dylan records from the 60s and 70s, and
Beatles records. I mean, like she bought them all when the records came out, like the White Album original from 1968, right. And the Who Live at Leeds with all the stuff. How the packaging was on that thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With all the like memorabilia kind of things, like the tickets and.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that and I mean, like
we were talking about that.
Records and. But so my mom had all this great old vinyl. And of course my dad had a bunch of old Greek records, that, I didn't really get into till later, but I will say this. I basically have taken over all of the remaining family vinyl. My mom's older sister who was, she was quite a bit older than my mom, and she was like an original Dylan fan. Like she saw him live before he went electric.
Wow!
Like with Joan Baez in the early '60s.
Oh man!
So unfortunately, she passed. Yeah, my aunt was like she was like a real folky of the. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have all her. Her daughter and granddaughter. Nobody. She didn't care. She said, you could take all my records, and her kids didn't want them. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Yes. I went over to Greece, went through, got, my dad, my aunt's old records. One of my great uncles had this great collection of old Greek 45. So anyway, I've been accumulating the family record collection.
That is very cool, man.
I am absolutely a collector. I like vinyl and CDs. CDs, that's the format I really grew up with.
Right.
So the first things I wanted to buy were, Green Day CDs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. That's your age
but,
group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I definitely do. Let's put it this way. I don't like other people touching my records or my CDs.
So you're really like, this is really the deal here, man. You ain't messing with the Papadimos family vinyl treasures here, man. You're the man that's in charge. That's cool. Now, actually, I think one of the last Dylan shows I saw, me and your mom and Cornell went to see him in Akron, and we had a blast, man.
Oh, I know. Yeah. There's a great photo she has of you with her and Cornell.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. We had an excellent time. Now, you have a Dylan show coming up, the West Side Bowl, pretty soon, too, right?
Yes. We have. We did it last year with Rolling Boxcar International and a bunch of guests, like people from the Vindies, a lot of other area musicians. But yeah, we did a tribute show last year. We're doing it again on Bob Dylan's birthday, May 24th. So it's kind of an all-star, event. Everybody does a few different songs, and there's a house band, and we try to touch upon all of his career. And definitely fitting with Dylan. Everyone does them however they want to do them. It's not like, we're trying to recreate, what it sounded like. And that's one thing that's great about Dylan. There's a lot of bands that like, if you like, I don't know, if you're like covering a Led Zeppelin song and you're not singing like Robert Plant or you're not playing the guitar like Jimmy Page, it's like, why are you covering it? With Dylan, you could make it your own. You know what? If
that's the thing. I think if you're an artist, you can't go wrong with covering a Dylan song. I don't know why more people don't do it, because it's just amazing. I'll tell you, me and Cornell, you know how big of a Dylan fan Cornell Bogdan is from Tangled Up in Blues. And I'll tell you what, we have been to so many Dylan shows over the years. And I got to say, probably the best one we went to was Bob Dylan's 30th anniversary at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, everybody was there. Lou Reed, John Mellencamp, Stevie Wonder, Eric Clapton, George Harrison, Tom Petty, Neil Young. If you look that thing up, it was just so amazing. It was just like, one superstar after another, just doing a Dylan song all night. I think the show was probably about 4 hours long, and it was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So now
that's what we're aiming for. That's what we're aiming for here at Westside.
Yeah, man. No, that's what it's going to be like. And hopefully this year I could make it. The last few years I haven't been able to make it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if there's anything I could do to make it there, I definitely want to be there. Brady says that you had mentioned something about music and buying Green Day CDs, and she says that's until Chris Leonardi turns you on to the good stuff.
Yes, Chris Leonardi.
Okay, that's
yeah.
Okay, she's not busting your balls. I didn't know she was busting balls, or if that's true.
No. She knows Chris. She knows him well, and yeah. He's a good friend. He plays on a lot of my records too. He plays Hammond B3. He was in a lot of bands. He played with Pete Revere's band, The Infidels. He had his own band, Dopamine, I think they were called, and Slackjaw was another one. You probably remember all that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Now, for people that aren't familiar with you,
sorry to cut you short. I really got to go because I'm just waiting outside here.
That sounds good. And I'm just so glad that you called in. We'll see you Saturday at the Record Connection. We'll see you at the big Bob Dylan party over at the West Side Bowl. And sooner or later, me and you are going to sit down and we're just going to have a full blown great time. Hey, where can people find out your music and everything? And let's get a plug on for that one as well.
Yeah, well, my name's Demos Papademos. You can hear me on Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff. I've got a website, www.demospapademos.com. So, yeah, it's all the usual streaming services. Obviously, I have physical products.
Yep.
We'll be selling that at the Record Connection. You could also buy it through the website. I've got plenty of videos up on YouTube. And, check it out.
Hey, that sounds good. Demas, I'm glad I at least got a chance to get you on the podcast for a little bit. We'll do something bigger later. Hey, we'll tell Pete Revere to come down too, and we'll have a big blowout, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, sounds good. Demas, I'll see you Saturday at the Record Connection. Thanks, Saturday, brother. All right, man. All right, there we go. I'm glad Demas finally Thank you, man. I'm glad Demas finally got a chance to get in. I've been trying to get him, to do a full-blown thing here, and we definitely will. So I guess I think it's time to wrap things up. It's almost basketball time now tonight. Yeah. So I do want to thank Demas Papademos. Look him up. He is so talented, and he is so good. And remember all the record store day stuff we got going on. Of course, Jeff Burke, Record Connection Niles, Big Bash, and Demas will be playing there. You got Fat Hippie Records over in Brookfield, and Pooba will be playing there. My buddy Jimmy and the gang from Pooba. And then, of course, stop by and see Sonny over at Underdog Records. He's the original. He's not that big on Record Store Day, but you got to love Sonny too. So thanks, everybody. Joe, thank you again. Another good show, a lot of fun. And we will definitely catch you at Record Store Day this weekend. And also, we will see you, I guess, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Y103. I think that would be a plan. So take care. Thanks, Joe. Peace out.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support.